Welcome to episode 221 of the Super Media Bros podcast. I'm Richie, and today Devin is out doing his delivery route shit because, fucking jobs and all that stuff. The man just works constantly. I don't know how he has time to sit here across from me and listen to my incessant rambling on multiple occasions, but he does, and he deserves a day off. He deserves a week off. The man deserves a whole ass vacation. But today, I will tell you this right now. I have two awesome ladies from our podcast network, Odd Pods Media, Mutt Podcast, Tina and Hillary. How's it going? You guys are coming in to do freaking Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter with me because holy shit, what the fuck of a movie?
Oh my God. So excited to talk about this movie, Richie. I'm so excited.
This movie.
So good.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Yeah, so for those of you out there that have not heard of this movie, this was out like a decade ago, and I remember the novel by Seth Grahame-Smith, who did Pride and Prejudice and Zombies,
Yes.
which is also a really good book. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Yeah, it's also a great book. But what attracted me to this movie was the fact that, first of all, whenever they were showing trailers for it, Timur Bekmambetov, who did Wanted and Day Watch and Night Watch, I found out he was directing this, and I was like, holy shit, I want to see it because, it's got that dated 2010s bullshit CGI in it or whatever, but that's kind of his style.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of his style. But then Tim Burton attaches his name to it. I'm like, okay, so I'm a little more interested than I was already.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. I mean, it's a 2010 CG fest, but the concept is ridiculous. But I thought this is a good way to bring you guys in to do this with me because it's like a really fucking weird mashup of cult
so
cinema
weird.
and politician shit. And y'all are fucking hilarious. And like, I'm here to exploit the fuck out of that on this show. Y'all are fucking hilarious. I fucking love y'all's podcast because it's a good mix of like you get your information. But I have coined the term red ass Hillary because whenever Hillary goes the fuck off on people, I'm just like, I'm here for it. I'm just sitting there like this. Good times.
I'm so glad that all of that anger is finally paying off in some ways whatsoever. Thank you.
It's the best.
So before we get into it, why don't y'all tell our listeners a little bit about your show and what y'all do?
Okay, well, we are hosts of the Muck Podcast, which is a political true crime podcast. There's a lot of true crime podcasts out there, but we tackle all of the weird and strange and crazy things that happen in U.S. politics from like the 1800s forward. So you never know what kind of story you're going to get. And Tina and I bring a different story to the podcast every week. And we don't know what the other person's covering. And since we are like huge political geeks anyway, as soon as we hear like a certain name, like, I don't know, an Anthony Weiner or something like that, we like freak out because we love these stories so much. And we do in our personal lives, we volunteer for political organizations here in Broward County, Florida, where we live. And so we have a lot of insider knowledge when it comes to things happening in Florida. And it's a huge passion for us, but we also love all the muckiness of politics, and it's fun. And yes, Tina loves to find stories that make me insane. And so it builds, like there's a slow build and all of a sudden it's like, I just explode. And so, yeah, that's what we do. And there's a lot of cursing and yelling and fighting for people's rights and things we believe in. And it's a fun podcast, but it's also a constant reminder that things in this country have never really changed. And we are constantly repeating some of the most awful atrocities that this government has put upon people, especially women and people of color in this country. So it's a lot of like, oh shit, voting, we're trying to block the polls. We did a poll tax back in the 1800s. So yeah, this isn't new. They're just doing it. It's just a repeated, like, couple words change, but it's all the same shit that they've always done. And it's really important to recognize that, acknowledge it, and try to get it across to people that they could do something about it, really, I guess.
Right. And the other thing I think that is so great about our podcast is when people, I think, hear politics or history, they think that it's just going to be boring, like reading a textbook or something. And that's not what we're about. We are not, just regurgitating some boring story. Like, we try to make it fun and exciting. And I think that's an important piece to note, that I think a lot of times people hear politics, they're like, oh, I don't want to hear it. And it's like, no, this isn't like your typical news NPR podcast, we're like probably the opposite of that. Like, they would probably be mortified at the way that we talk about politics on the show. So, and that's what I love about it. And I think that's what a lot of people like about it who are our listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I'm not the most knowledgeable person when it comes to stuff like that, but I like it because I think I've told you this, Hillary. It's so digestible, and that's what I enjoy the most. Is it's odd to say it, but I mean it's a fun listen. Even some of the more serious matters, like I said, it's very digestible and it's easy to listen to.
Yeah.
Because I know people that are podcast listeners that are like, I have a hard time getting through certain true crime shows because it's too dark or anything like that. But this is a balance, and I think you have to have that balance.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, to transition into this movie that we're talking about, it is a very fucking weird balance of off the wall and dark and serious. Like, this movie was way more serious than it fucking needed to be.
Yeah.
But it was still fun. Like, look, okay, so we did a President's Day called Cinema Showdown last year, and it was literally a ripoff of this movie called Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies versus FDR American Badass, which was fucking hilarious. Like, so if y'all just want like a drunk weekend of bullshit, please, I implore you, watch FDR American Badass. It is the stupidest shit. It's like South Park.
FDR.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like he's got like turret guns and shit attached to his wheelchair, and he's just like blowing motherfuckers away. It's so stupid. It's the best shit ever.
Oh my god.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's on YouTube. It's absolutely incredible. Fucking watch it. But yeah. So y'all had never seen this movie, correct?
No.
Okay. So I can only imagine it was okay. So what was your experience like just seeing it? Like, just first impression. I know Tina was like, I have notes.
Yeah, I do. I have notes, but my first impression, I was like, what, I have to agree with you. Like, even like it started off with like just this, horrible, sad beginning with, Abe as a child, even with the biblical, there's a biblical connection at the very beginning with the name Abraham. I was like, oh God, what is happening? Like, this is how we're starting, we're setting up, it just felt like very, like the cliche, like hero's tale where you have to have like this biblical birth. There's got to be this big connection. And I was like, all right, let's go. And then like the mother, I was like, dear God, why? Why? And he's like he's peeking over the edge to see like the vampire. So some of it I thought in the beginning was a little heavy-handed, like it's setting up like the witness to the slave brutality with the young kid. I'm like, oh, okay, so from the beginning, he's, going to be fighting for slavery, when we know that at least historically, despite his anti-slavery work, Abraham Lincoln was known to say things that were not positive about Black people. So to have like this, beginning that he's like righteous from birth, I was like, all right. Okay.
Here's what I think. I thought it was really funny too that like when you said the FDR thing, it's so funny. I'm thinking, can we not come up with a new hero? Like, are we really having to use historical figures to become heroes? I mean, I went into the movie thinking this is just going to be for fun. This is not going to be crazy. It's just fun. Except it's weird because they kept saying honest to him, like honest Abe. They kept repeating honest.
Yes.
Like, we get it. Like, we know who it is. Like, we keep doing it. It's like George Washington with the cherry tree. Like, all right. We know the reference,
Dude, so the fucking funny part, the funniest fucking part about that, like what you were getting at with the Odyssey thing, how he was like getting taught by Dominic Cooper's character, and the scene where they're chopping the fucking tree. And
oh my god!
Yeah, he's like, what do you hate? He's just like, well, I hate him. I couldn't protect her, and he's like hitting, and he's just kind of sitting there. Dominic is really probably sitting there thinking, you fucking.
Yeah.
But it's not until Abraham Lincoln. It's not until Abraham Lincoln channels his inner monster energy Kyle versus Drywall that he really like chops the whole fucking tree in one swoop.
Oh my god.
But then the explosion of the tree, it was like the stars came out. I was like, honey, what's happening right now? The creepiest thing is that this actor really looked like fucking Abraham Lincoln, even as like young Abraham Lincoln. He fucking looked like him. That creeped me the fuck out. Creeps me out.
Yeah. Benjamin Walker actually, like, for all what this movie was, did a pretty good job portraying Lincoln.
Yes. I just
legitimate
thought
actors in this movie, like real. Dominic Cooper is like a legitimate. So is that the one who played Mary Todd, was it Elizabeth Winstead?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, dude, I was shocked every time somebody showed up. I'm like, look at this motherfucker in this movie. All right.
And then Rufus, I always fuck his last name. Rufus Sewell, or whatever his name is, how you pronounce his last name. He's been in a ton of shit too. Yeah. And the weird thing is, the movie I remember him from was Dark City. And I love that fucking movie. It was the movie that Alex Proyas did after he did The Crow. And it was just a complete 180. Yeah, it was a complete 180. It was like this dystopian sci-fi like kind of film. And it predates The Matrix as far as like the kind of weird shit. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, that actor, I didn't recognize him at the time that I saw this movie. And then coming back here, so I was like, oh, that's that motherfucker.
Is he the guy who played? Is he the one who played the head vampire, who is like the main guy?
Adam.
That guy. Okay, he was also in the movie The Holiday with a Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz picture right now.
Oh my god,
he was in that movie too. That's where I recognize him from.
Right. And Alan Tudyk playing Stephen Douglas. That was
oh my god,
love that.
Stephen Douglas part.
He's such
all of that. The other thing I think I loved about this movie is the cheesy lines.
Yes.
Even from the beginning when we meet Jack Bart, and he knows that Jack Bart has like he has the fight with the dad, and he's like, there are other ways to collect a debt, and it's like, okay.
And then
the mother died. Like, it's
one of the lines I wrote down, this is right when he chops down the tree. That guy, Dominic's character, says to him, real power comes from truth. And I was like, again, with the honest reference, he fucking explodes. And I was like, bro, this is gonna be awesome. This movie's gonna be awesome. God. Oh my god, it was so good. But every good movie's got like a training sequence, right? And so that training sequence, I remember when they started doing like he's training with the axe, like learning how to be a vampire slayer. And I looked at the clock on the movie and I was like, we're fucking 18 minutes in and we're already at the training scene. Like, this is gonna be a long fucking movie. Like, it's gonna really be,
the mentor. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. Like it follows the hero of 1,000 faces, right? Like it follows that whole thing of, you have the mentor, you have the training, you have the person of, and that's the other thing in this movie. Like Abe Lincoln didn't have a mythical birth. He's not godlike in any way. Yet the vampires, I get it. Like you're supernatural.
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln is not supernatural, yet somehow he is managing some very supernatural feats throughout this entire movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's the top hat.
Yeah.
It's the top hat. That's where he gets his powers from. Because I mean, if Mary Todd can stand on a whole ass top hat, and not cave it in. I mean, come on.
I mean,
that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
So cheesy.
And he fucking hurls it like a shuriken, like at one point at the plantation scene. He throws that fucker like a ninja star. I'm like, look at this son of a bitch go. But I'll have you know, Benjamin Walker trained with like I think he trained with legitimate axes, and that's actually him doing all that flipping work with that shit.
Yeah,
it's
no, that's
impressive.
I thought that was hilarious. Like when the axe turned into the axe gun.
Oh, the gun. So good. Here's the other part.
Good technology.
When he's
for the late 1800s.
I guess maybe I should wait till we get to it. But like the other part was like how the slaves have been the food for vampires for all these hundreds of years. I'm like, the slaves haven't had enough fucking problems. Now
I was upset. I have to say I was a little upset. The one sort of main thing I was annoyed with was that the erasing of the fact that the Civil War wasn't really about abolishing slavery. It was just about like getting rid of the undead. So it's like, okay, we erase history enough. Now we're just going to erase slavery altogether. And it wasn't even about that. Like, I was like, really movie, this is what we're doing? Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the fucked up part is in the book, it was more, it wasn't even like with that in the book. This is the problem that I have with certain book to film translations. In the book, it was just basically used as a means to be like, okay, the vampires were the reason, like in the book, like the vampires were the reason the South was so hard to fucking defeat. And it just it added more of a dramatic element to the ongoing war to get to that end point. Whereas, like y'all said, this one just kind of, no, we're just gonna push this aside, and then we're gonna like I did have some issue with that as well. At the time that it had come out, it's sad to say, but it's like when you're looking at entertainment purposes on a film, that's like the least thing from your mind. But when you get older and you start looking at this shit, you're just like, okay, so what the fuck, you know?
But I guess for entertainment purposes, a lot of things are excused away. I mean, it's for entertainment, really. Like I was really looking for, like, there was very specific historical references, but then I was like, all right, but it's the vampire. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you vampires aren't real, because that'll be the night that some motherfuckers at my door being like, can I come in? Do I have permission to enter? And I'm like,
oh my God. Well, it just, I think this movie was funny with some of the things that they like, the standard vampire traits, right? The silver, the mirrors. It was like, okay, we're going to hold on to these particular things. But then the other thing that is funny though, I felt like maybe a slight discrepancy, because there's one point where, what is it, Henry Sturgis, right? What's the trainer?
That's it.
Where he when we learn, it's all revealed that he is actually a vampire and he's lost the love of his life, and he's like the Dexter of like vampires. He only kills the morally corrupt or whatever.
That's so funny.
And then but we learn because he can't kill vampires. But there's a scene where they get in a fist fight towards the end. And it's like, wait a minute, before when he went to attack, he couldn't attack at all. But then there's like a place where they do connect towards the end of the movie. So I'm like, well, which is it? So that was like a little sort of film.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah,
there's a couple of them, like where he bites him. You're talking about the scene on the train where he bites him on the arm or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's also the case, I was looking back again, and the beginning where he walks in on him with that lady in the tub, and he's walking around the whole ass house. I'm like, bro, I can see your reflection in every curio cabinet in that motherfucking room.
Yeah.
You ain't fooling shit.
Yeah.
Lots of
like continuity. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of film goofs happen. One scene in particular that showcases that, like I was mentioning earlier, that typical ass late or early 2010s CG, the whole horse stampede sequence.
Oh my God.
Where Bart just fucking, he just yeets a whole horse at him.
It was so great. Like, how is he's running on top of horses in a stampede?
It's
like
amazing.
What? And that's where I'm saying, like, he's not superhuman. Like, I get that the vampires and each vampire, like this one is fast and this one can fly and whatever, you have your own little vampire trait. But Abe Lincoln is human. How is he doing this? How is he doing this?
He swung a fucking horse, and Abe caught a full fucking horse. He caught it. It's like, what? Oh shit. We're in it now, bitch. We are in it.
Oh my God.
Horses fucking flying at us. Okay. Okay.
I think he rode the horse he caught too.
Oh
if
my
I'm not mistaken,
God.
I think the horse he started.
It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
It was this movie. I feel like it tried to blend, like the mythical, the biblical, the Matrix. It was sort of too many different, because even like the main vampire, like the head guy, Adam, right? Like the father of all vampires. It's like, okay, like.
But I think also there comes a point, like it's a fiasco. The movie's a fiasco. So there comes a point where like you're taking it seriously and then everything starts to just unravel and now everything's funny. So by the time we got to the horse scene, I was like, oh my God. My God.
Even his attempt. Okay. So, some historical things I liked is, like he's the dead take over the South, right? We learned that part. And then what is the line? It was like, we're a nation of men, not monsters. And then he goes to Springfield, and that's where he sets up his trade, and he's not supposed to fall in love and whatever, but he meets Mary Todd. And then that Douglas Lincoln sort of debate, like we see like, okay, there's tension, but historically they were not engaged, Douglas and Mary Todd, but he did ask her out, and she did like decline his advances. So there is a little bit of truth, at least to like that I guess depiction, but yeah. I mean, they put it over the top with them being engaged and like the whole like romantic love triangle they try to establish there. But when he tries to kill that first vampire, I was like, oh my God, like, and he goes into the pharmacy and then he's in the trap and he's upside down. I'm like, what is going on? And his great escape. I don't know.
That was funny. That was funny to me because like during the training montage, he's teaching him to fight in the dark.
Yes. It's like Luke Skywalker. It's Luke Skywalker with the helmet on.
It really is, but like if you're teaching him to fight in the dark, why do you need a packet of rice or whatever to throw on the guys? Like you ought to know that shit. Because he's sitting there and he's just like, before you protect others from darkness, you must first be able to protect yourself. And I'm thinking, was that really your idea or was it the Trojan Condom Company's idea?
Right.
I'm telling you right now, same fucking concept.
Oh my God. I wonder, there was like halfway through the movie, I was wondering like, how did the actors even get through this? Like there's got to be a point when you're on set where you're like, oh no, this is going to be a really shitty movie. Like there's got to be a point where you're like, how do I finish filming this?
Whatever, they're getting paid.
I guess.
And I'm sure it's fun.
Yeah.
The worst part I would think is if you know a movie's going to be shit when you're making it, but you still have to do the press tour afterwards to sell it.
Yeah. Also, the great thing about the vampires is they didn't just like have the fangs that come out. Their whole thing.
Oh yeah, that part. The first time I saw
their mouths were like fucking intense, dude. It was scary.
That very first scene, I was like, oh my God, like, and I was like, oh, maybe this is gonna be like super scary, and then it kind of went back and forth. Yeah, I like that. I thought that was, good.
Yeah,
graphics. And the other thing I kind of like, because I'm a nerd, is the puns that were happening, like when because he would like send him these notes to like go after, and when he goes after like the guy at the bank, and he's like, he goes like the bank deposit can quickly disappear, and that's the vampire that disappears. I'm like, okay, look at you guys being cute about how you're like sending the message to Abe Lincoln.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so funny.
So ridiculous.
I know.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
And what else? So the will they won't they, they had to add that in with like the whole Mary Todd thing. Are they gonna be together? Are they not gonna be together? Is he gonna resist and follow the rules? And that was
I thought the time jump whenever he decides, okay, well, I'm gonna put my axe away. I'm not gonna do this anymore. And the time jump was like, God, it was worse than like a Bill and Ted time jump with that Abe Lincoln, because he immediately just is old. And
and he's walking, right? That's where he's walking in like the beard.
And that fucking Dutch angle of the camera just like slowly turns up at him, and you're just like, what the fuck?
And it's like, that's the Abe Lincoln we know.
If you blink, you miss it. Like if you blink, you miss this whole fucking thing. I'm like, what just happened to that cute boy I was looking at? And I was like, man, he's like, oh, he's Abe Lincoln. Oh God. Yeah.
So
he all of a sudden has like the he's almost like Sean Connery kind of in a way, and I'm just like, Fuck, dude.
My God.
And I one thing that I did kind of dig about how the way I'm looking at it is like certain things they tried to take that historically happened and give them like vampiric reasoning. One of them being his son dying, how he was bitten by a vampire, and nobody else but him knew, like, okay, the doctor's like, okay, it's got to be some type of illness and all this other shit. And Abe's just like, oh, these motherfuckers done bit my kid.
Yeah.
I'm about to whip y'all ass.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, why were you not like preparing for this shit this whole fucking time? Like, the fact that this war was going on and everybody was like, oh, the Confederates are impervious to bullets and all this other shit. And it was not until he's sitting there eating fucking dinner, which again, Mary and Abe's drift from her getting pissed about his vampire diary.
Oh my God. That was ridiculous.
I love how symbolic the long fucking table was between the two of them. It's like, oh, they're getting further and further apart. But it's not until he picks that fucking fork up where he's just like, nothing's working, and all I have is just the fork, and I'm like, you fucking idiot.
Oh my God, that was
later on the fork. Later on, you see the fork like in the air, and it said A-L on it, like for Abe Lincoln. I was like, yes, bring that, throw it back. We're gonna bring it back around.
It was so funny.
Oh my God, so good.
It was so funny.
I laughed my ass off of that scene, dude, because imagine just you're in your house, you're having a nice dinner with your fucking badass silverware and fine china that you just bought.
Yeah.
And here come the Union soldiers just taking all your fucking silver shit.
I know.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
I had to kind of laugh because it just immediately he's like, we get all the silver we can get, and then just fucking everybody just taking all their shit and just throwing it.
Silver. Or they're donating silver for the war cause.
He asked the woman vampire who was like, who bit the son. I'm like, why is this bitch just wandering around the White House? We got no security back then. People just going in the fucking, and the wife knew she was fucking trouble because she gave her the side eye, and I was like, oh shit, maybe Abe's fucking around. But then I realized it was the vampire, and I was like, oh no. And how is she wandering into the room where the son is? Like, where was the protection for this family? It's fucking. And my favorite, I gotta tell you, my favorite is that little sword that he dropped, that little silver sword. And then at the end, Mary drops the gun and she shoots that woman vampire and it's sticking out of her head. I was like, damn, that's a good shot, Mary Todd.
Well, but why, first of all, why is Mary Todd running around these tents? She would not have been there running around the tents, helping everybody, and then happens to see the vampire. Like, come on. I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of things, but I'm like, really, Mary Todd, you're not in the tents.
Well,
not happening.
I mean, there's a special appearance in this movie that I absolutely love, and I cannot wait till we get to it. Are we just gonna jump into that, or do we have something else first?
No, you can. I know it's gonna be kind of all over the place. Like we kind of threw out the whole like front to back format forever ago because it's a lot more fun when you're just recalling like stupid shit from these movies, because like we really want people to go watch this shit for themselves because everybody's gonna have such a different mindset about it. But like the thing you said about suspending your disbelief, and I want to hear what Hillary you got to say about your thing when she got shot in the fucking head with that sword or whatever. Look, and y'all know I'm a big fucking wrestling nerd. That fucking woman took that bullet like she got clotheslined out of her fucking boots by the Undertaker or some shit, man. Like fucking hard. Her feet just said whoop, and she fell the fuck back. I was like, God damn.
I know, and she's a vampirist, right? Like, doesn't she? What's her magical ability? Like, she's just walking. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. Like, they're supposed to have super senses. I mean, she had to load a gun and shoot it at her.
My favorite thing is Tina. I love how Tina's trying to make sense of it all. Like, it's like, forget about it. It's over. Like, that's the end of the movie. Like, we're fucking over at this point. My favorite. There's two things I really fucking loved. Number one, I did not see fucking coming, is Harriet motherfucking Tubman. I was like, what?
Oh my God.
What? Who's over here now? Who's over here? And someone said Harriet. I was like, oh my God, Harriet Tubman's in this fucking movie. Let's go. Like, let's fucking go. That was incredible. Come on.
Oh my God. I just
in the book,
like,
Richie? Is her character in the book?
I believe so, if I remember correctly, because
God.
I think they took refuge with her at one point, if I'm remembering right. It's been a while since I've read the book.
Yeah, that was insane. And then my favorite thing at the end of the movie was that guy Dominic Cooper, who played Henry. I think his name is Henry. He's like, come on, let's go fight together, arm in arm. And he's like, no, I'm gonna be late for the theater. And I'm like, oh no, Abe, don't fucking go. I was like, don't do it. Don't do it.
That was just ridiculous.
His carriage goes away.
And he leaves him. He just leaves him in the White House while he goes out to the theater. Like, what's going on? Because they did have that. They had that fight. They came back together. I don't know.
Yeah, it was funny.
But can we talk about the big scene at the plantation?
Yes.
They're like, these are like these hardcore vampires, and they're like, let's invite Abe to the plantation, and they find a way to get him there. They kidnap his bestie, Will, and that's how they get him to the plantation. But they just kind of walk up and just look in the window, like it's so ridiculous. And he tells his friend, the shopkeep, oh gosh, his name is escaping me. Basically like, we're hunting vampires. Like, I feel like a normal person
be like, bye.
Be like, I don't understand what we're doing. Like, and then he looks and sees these vampires like dancing and then killing people. And and then they come storming in. It's like, you're two dudes and there's a fleet of vampires. Again, this supernatural thing of like, Abe has these like superhuman abilities that there's no way he would have defeated all of these vampires. I mean, these are like the creme de la creme of the vampires. It's not just like some newly formed vampire that doesn't know what they're doing. This is like Adam's crew. And he's like, you've destroyed my people, but I want to make it. And the scene with the chair where she comes in and then the chair is around his neck, like laying on the ground. And then the shopkeep comes in. I mean,
the shopkeep comes with the carriage. Remember, he busts through the fucking window and he's like, the whole horses in the carriage comes flying through the fucking living room of his house. And I was like,
oh my God. Yeah.
They didn't call him Speed for nothing, man.
Speed. That's his name. Speed. Oh Lord.
Yeah. I thought the scene, like that scene where the two vampires come out of blending in that painting, that mural, that was fucking so cool.
That was awesome.
Like, there were some really cool things in this movie, like shit like that. But
and
dude, they shot this in here in Louisiana, by the way.
Oh, wow.
They shot this in New Orleans. So whenever they're in New Orleans, they're in some outskirt areas. So like they're actually like swamping,
and New Orleans, I mean, vampire lore, it's always in New Orleans, right? Like that's just, so I like that they're like going to going to NOLA to go to the plantation, that it happens to be there. I'm like, of course it's New Orleans. Like, they've read their Anne Rice. They've, they know what's going on with the vampires. So,
but the fight scenes, the one at the plantation, the one on the train
at the end,
those scenes were incredible. The fight scenes were fucking, they were like Matrix.
How are they standing on a train?
Slow motion shit. I fucking loved it. I was there for the fight scenes. Every time there was a fight scene, I'm like, more of this. I don't need this nonsense bullshit. I want more of these fight scenes.
But the fight scenes, again, like, I just get annoyed because if I would know that Abe Lincoln had some superhuman strength, I could buy that he's standing on a fast moving train fighting vampires. But he's a dude. Like, how is he doing that? And Speed can do it, and Will. Then what the heck? Then why are vampires special if humans can do it too? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's got all that hate inside of him. Remember how he busted that tree down? He had to feel it, so he could stand on that train and fight.
Yeah.
He just pictures all the vampires being trees.
Yeah.
Being trees. It's like, you're a tree. You're a tree. You're a tree. I'm gonna make some parchment out of you. Just fucking them up, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, the train sequence I thought was fucking fantastic. As over the top as it is fucking fantastic, especially when old girl at the bottom lights that whole bridge on fire.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It makes me laugh because there's like, she strikes the match. Oh, she's about to light, but in like 3 seconds, the whole motherfucker.
The whole
lit.
thing.
I was like,
and they're, booking it. They make it.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing I thought was funny, or not funny, but I was like, of course. They go hide in the church, right? Like the plantation thing happens, they roll up and the priest is like, we haven't seen anyone. I saw some fellas down the road. And the vampires are like, of course. But they're vampires, so they can't go in a church anyway or whatever. But when they're in the church, which is a little, of course, it's cliche, but there is a woman there, a Black woman, who says that they are, that the war was, they're fighting for the soul of the country. And then he goes back and he co-ops what she says to get people to be on his side. So I'm like, of course it's a white man taking a Black woman's words and using it as his own to be successful. Thank you, Abe Lincoln. Thanks. Way to go.
Listen, honey, man, that toxic white masculine
I was like,
start yesterday.
Oh my God.
It's so good. It was so fucking funny.
Good times.
The other part that was so good about the train scene is that like this train is gonna collapse. The bridge is fucking falling. They're kicking those the posts out on that bridge. And all of it's coming up, and they open the boxes and it's rocks. And I was like, what the fuck? Like they totally scam them, which I love, of course, but also like all these people are gonna fuck. This whole thing is gonna fall apart because you got to do a bait and switch. And then I was like, you did a bait and switch on me though. Like I'm pissed. I'm mad at that guy's speed. I thought he had fucking thrown them under the bus. I'm like so confused about like what's going on. Oh my God, it was too much.
What else? Oh, so another, I mean, I know I'm bringing in all this historical stuff, but he gets, there's a scene where like he has the Blacks like fighting, and gets, people on board to help and Black people on board. And historically, Lincoln didn't really want Blacks fighting in the war because he didn't think they'd do a good job. So again, like, I just feel like I think that we need to say like Abe Lincoln did do good things, right? The Emancipation Proclamation, but I feel like we still have to acknowledge some of the faults of our leaders and not just like throw them up on these pedestals. So I thought I'm like, Abe Lincoln didn't even want people fighting in the war, but here he is like stealing a speech from a Black woman and then building an army. So
yes, another thing that was fucked up is that when they finally go to this montage, now he's old, he's talking, like he's narrating something, he goes, and now I'm 50. And I was like, 50? Jesus Christ, you look like you're 90 years old. I'm like close to this. We're maybe about 5 or 6 years off of this, but damn, motherfucker.
Well, 50 back then is like 75 today.
Okay.
So,
right.
God. I'm 50 years old. I was like, no.
Oh my God. Oh, and the best was when is it Jefferson Davis who comes out of the house and is like, thank you, vampires, for coming on board and fighting with us. I was like, it's so great. Like, yeah, link him up with like the most horrible vampire in the land. So I like that. I like that historical mashup of really making Jefferson Davis be even worse than what he was in real life.
Right.
Oh my God.
No, and don't apologize about bringing up like the actual historical stuff, because that's another reason I thought this would be a fun thing to do, is because me and Devin could sit here all fucking day and talk, just surface level on some of these movies and then get into factoids. But when you really have a person of history like Abe Lincoln as your forefront and center person, you're gonna have to acknowledge like the shitty things that he did too. Because let's be honest, if you don't know a lot of this shit, which is sad if people don't know it, if you just look at it, you're like, oh fuck yeah. But I look at it, I'm like, fuck yeah, but oof. So one of the things in the book that I did want to bring up, because you're talking about like how they're making all these people into vampires in the book, because they left a lot of shit out of the theatrical ending for the film. In the book, he does get assassinated by Booth, which is also a vampire.
Oh, Booth! I wanted to know, is he a vampire? Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
So he
should have showed that.
So he is a vampire, and he assassinates Lincoln. Which here's the thing, he actually winds up more or less being outed, or not outed, but kind of there's a word I'm looking for. Excommunicated in a way by like the rest of vampires in a sense, which is Really strange, because he winds up living out in solitude until he's arrested by the Union. And then in the book,
this wasn't a sanctioned hit on Lincoln for the vampires. They didn't.
Not that I recall. I just remember that he actually gets arrested, like full blown, like they just arrested him. They didn't even kill him. And years later, Sturgis is at the I Have a Dream speech that Martin Luther King is giving. And Abraham Lincoln appears as well, because Sturgis finally turned him into a vampire, and the book ends with him saying, the book ends with him saying, "Some men are just too interesting to die." So Lincoln,
I love that ending.
Yeah, he lives in the book.
This is hysterical.
That should have been in the movie.
No, I think I would have liked that. I think I would. That would have been. I don't know. I either would have liked it, or I would have been like, "What in the holy hell is happening right now?"
Also, like, I'm also annoyed. I'm also annoyed that I've never met somebody who's like, "You're too interesting to die. I'm going to turn you into a vampire." Like, why can't that happen in my fucking life? Like, why hasn't that happened? I want to live forever, just like this. Like, let's go, vampires. Let's go. Where are you?
I could just picture the fucking sequel tagline if they ever did it. 4 scored 7 years later. All right, cool.
Yes. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Wow. I love that.
That would be funny.
That's a great ending. I love that. Now that should have happened.
Yeah, I like that better than him just walking away, because I was wondering at the end, like, oh, he's just gonna get shot by Booth. Like he should be a vampire or something.
Yeah.
Or not Lincoln, but that a vampire should, if he's gonna get killed.
Wow.
Yeah. And the cool thing about the book is actually it is formatted like you're reading his journal. Like, you know how he's kept a journal through the whole movie?
Yeah.
And he hands it off to Burgess. He's like, "Here, keep this, hang on to it for me."
Yeah.
That's essentially supposed to be the book right there. Is literally all of his journal entries. So in the book, you're hearing all of this from his personal like recollection and his personal like accounting of it.
Yeah, so, and the movie starts that way. We have that narration happening.
And the same, and then the font like on the title card of like his signature on the top is actually like some of the stuff in the book as well. So they translated some of it really well. I'm like y'all, I was pissed off that the ending got left out of the movie. I understand why they did it, but
well, it was a long movie.
It didn't need to be as long as it was, to be honest with you. But I appreciate what Timur Ben Megdatov, or fuck, I can't even fucking say his name, Bekmambetov. It's a fucking mouthful. He's Russian Kazakh, so he's got this really long fucking crazy name. But his movies are all kind of like this. Like, I think Wanted was probably the most American style film that he did, but his influence is definitely in it. Night Watch and Day Watch are both based on books as well. Like, if you're looking to check his other stuff out, and it's actually a whole tetralogy of books. But the first 2 movies, well, they're the only 2 movies, are based on the first and 1/4 of the second book. Like, the first book and 1/4 of the second book. So I think Timur has actually adapted more novels. I think he's done a couple of other films that are adapted from other works. Like, he did the remake of Ben-Hur. I think it was like 2016 that it came out. And he's working on some other stuff, but he's been more low-key. Like, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was definitely his last higher profile movie. And I'm not saying it killed his career here in the States, but it probably killed his career here in the States.
Yeah.
Because there's been nothing else from him after that. Yeah. Not even a sequel to Wanted. So.
But like the CGI, like you mentioned, it came out a decade ago, and I feel like CGI a decade ago didn't look like this, did it? I mean, is it CGI really gotten that much better in the last 10 years? Because this was like, especially I would reference the scene on top of the train with the smoke. Like, that smoke seemed like a cover to try to cover up all of these digital things that were happening, and it was just it just didn't look right.
Oh, that train scene. The thing on that train that made me laugh, I know I'm going back to the movie, but you have it just was like classic villain movie because he starts monologuing on the side of the train, and that like wastes the time that allows him to, be defeated. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I mean,
but yeah, there was a lot of cheesy
CGI.
Yeah.
I was gonna
and
say,
it felt Matrixy with like the way they were fighting.
I like that.
Yeah.
That, but it seems dated now though. Watching it
is.
now.
Yeah, it definitely is. But if you look at it, it came out in 2012. You know what else came out in 2012? The Avengers. So you could say that CG was dated, but also the work that went into it shows. The movie had between like a 66 and $100 million budget, if I remember right. I want to know where the fuck that money went to.
Dude,
I want to know where the
seriously.
fuck that money went. It only made 116 at the box office, so it didn't even really break even. Because if you want to break even, like in Hollywood standards, to break even, you need to make double the budget before you actually start pulling profit in. Because typically, you take the budget of a film, say like just spitballing, it's 100 million. You're going to spend twice that on the marketing, so 200 million. This movie would have had to make 400 million just to break even. It was never going to make that much money.
Yeah,
like,
that's a lot. I mean, what is going on in this film industry? That's a lot of damn money.
And for 2012, it was definitely a lot of money. I mean, if you think about the fact that I want to say the last Avengers film, I want to say that was like almost 300 to 500 million dollars on a budget. It had to have been.
No wonder
but I mean,
they keep making all these movies.
Yeah, and it made like 2.6 or 2.7 billion dollars at the box office. Like when you think about the fact that we are so accustomed to the superhero genre being what is pulling money in at the cinema right now. Yeah. When you see movies like this that they like, I'll admit, like the filmmakers, they tried. Everybody that makes a film tries, and I think that's on our, at least on our podcast, we might kind of shit on some of these movies, but it's all in good fun. I don't ever, say like when I'm like, oh fuck this movie, it's not like, oh fuck this movie and the people that it wrote in on, but it's more or less like, oh my god, what is this fucking movie?
Yeah.
But you look at movies like this that really did try, and they put effort into it, and then it just kind of falls short. It does suck for the people involved. And then you look at movies like the Batman or the new Spider-Man that just came out, and they just fucking rake money in like it's nothing. It's not hard to see why audiences and film studios drop money on those, because they make the money. And it's harder for indie, because this was kind of like a low-key film for 20th Century Fox, believe it or not. It didn't really have a chance. It didn't have a lot of people behind it, and I think it was executed less than stellar. Like I think if it would have, like we've all been saying, if it would have been a little more comedic in tone, a little more self-aware, it probably would have done better. Like,
it took itself really too seriously. That's the thing. And I remember being in the theater and seeing a trailer for this movie and being like, what the fuck? Like people are laughing, and I'm like, I don't know if it's a comedy though. Like I don't think it's supposed to be funny, but you're right. They took themselves too seriously, because it wasn't a bad movie. It was just like, you're just confused. And the audience doesn't want to be confused. They want you to tell them a story. Take me along on this journey. If I'm on this journey and I thought I'm going to like Pizza Hut, and now I'm stuck at fucking, behind a dumpster somewhere. I'm like, what am I doing over here? I thought I was going this way. Why am I going this? Like, it was so confusing. And I really think it has a lot to do with the fact that we all have this idea of Abraham Lincoln, right? Like we have this really picture idea of what we learned in school about Abraham Lincoln. Like Tina's mentioned some things that were actual facts that you'll never hear in school, but like, we have an idea of him, and they took that idea and they kind of warped it. And it was hard to, I think that's the thing, like get your head around this other idea of who Abraham Lincoln was, even though you had to suspend all of that. It's kind of hard to do because he's so famous as the president.
I think you're right, Hillary. Like if they would have just made it campy from the beginning, it would have been a lot more fun, because then you could kind of go along with it.
Yeah.
But when it's trying to be serious, like I think that's you're right. I think that's where
what if the opening scene was this? He's in the Oval Office, it's old Abe, and all of a sudden there's like, he's at his desk and he's like, being serious, and a fucking vampire comes in and he pulls his axe out, or he's like struggling with the vampire, and he turns to the camera and he's like, he said something funny like, let me tell you how this started. Like it just goes back. Like wouldn't that have been funnier to be like, holy shit, there's a vampire and Abraham Lincoln in the Oval Office, and it's like, what the fuck's happening? Like it would be funny to be like, let's go back to how like he's just talking like not a Schitt's Creek. What is it? Like The Office, or like, you know what I mean, where they're talking to the camera. Like that would break the fourth wall. Yeah, that would have been funny. Like make it funny. But I don't know if the book was funny. It seemed like the book was serious.
The book, the book was borderline serious. I mean, but still, if you're gonna go as far as they did with, you know, adapting it and changing some things, by all means, please make it much more like comedically palatable.
Yeah,
I 100% agree. I think that's what that's another problem that I kind of had with Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies, like the ripoff of this fucking movie. Because that was legitimately a B movie, like straight up. And so when we watched that, and then we watched that FDR movie, I knew 5 minutes into the other one, I was like, well, this is gonna fucking win. You know, it was just like tonality, like complete 180. I was like, this is gonna fucking win. Yeah. Because we were gonna put this on our Cult Cinema Showdown, but I was sitting there going, just remembering everything about it, going, there's no fucking way I can put this in everything.
Wow.
Like it takes itself too seriously, and also it deserved to have its own like standalone piece, because it really is, it's not a complex movie, but if you don't know the shit that people are not being taught in school, it's too simple. Like if you know like everything that really is going in, then you're really questioning it, being like, oh, okay, that's not right. That's not right. That really ain't fucking right. That was kind of cool, but that's not right. You know.
So on your podcast, you talk about these B movies, a lot of movies that I have never heard of before, ever. I don't know how you find them. I'd love to know how you find all these movies. Maybe you've just been a fan from like way back in the day, but like on the level of reviewing movies, where does this fall? Like, is this better than all these other movies that you've talked about? Like at the level, because you do some pretty like low budget films. Is this at the top of that kind of level?
Honestly, okay, so I'll answer that first question. My family owned a video store when I was younger. We own an entire video store. I've been a cinephile for as long as I can possibly remember.
Nice.
I never looked at movies at surface value entertainment. I can remember even at a young age when I saw the first Ninja Turtles movie that came out in 1990. That was my first movie in theaters, and I just remember being fascinated by the Jim Henson's Creature Shop effects.
I mean, that was like, I remember that movie.
Yeah. And to me, that movie was the perfect, I still say, like, a lot of people are like, well, what's your favorite movie? And I don't have necessarily a favorite because I love movies so much. But if I had to pick one that I can just pull off the shelf at any point in time and watch it, that's one of them, because there's comedy, there's action, there are like legitimate, I say sentimental to me just as a childhood, because I grew up on, you know, TMNT, but there were actual literal things happening in that movie that happened to people in real life. Not a lot of people look at properties like Ninja Turtles or X-Men and think, okay, they're kind of tackling racism here. They're kind of tackling you know, shoving aside like, you know, minorities and shit like that, because those characters were not accepted as who they are. So they had to fucking hide and shit all the time. So I look at stuff like that. Even at a young age, I was always just like, why can't they just be friends with everybody?
Yeah.
You know, I look at movies like that 100% completely. But to answer your other question, as far as like, how am I finding all this shit? I watch a lot of shit. Like there's a company called Vinegar Syndrome that specializes completely in restoring movies into 4K from their original negatives, which is quite honestly a lost art form in itself, like using actual film to do shit. Everything's digital now.
Yeah, everything's digital.
And so I go buy a lot of these movies, you know, and they're fantastic films. A lot of these will never see the light of day otherwise. As far as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter goes on like the scale of, is it like bottom tier, mid, or high tier? I would put it kind of in the center, only because it had potential, didn't quite live up to that potential, but it wasn't shitty enough that I'm going to throw it in the $2 bin at Walmart. Like it definitely deserves like its cult, because it has a cult following. It's definitely got its cult film status, but it wasn't big enough to, you know, be talked about by a larger audience nowadays. Because, you know, the fact that it came out 10 years ago, I even said, I was like, this is a fucking 10-year-old movie already.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck?
Well, 10 years flies by now. I mean, my God.
I know.
It feels like
It's
5
crazy.
minutes ago at this point.
I know.
But yeah, I enjoy just older cinema, underground cinema. And the best part about it is when you find even independent cinema, we are giant advocates for independent cinema. I would rather give my money to a movie that came from literally nothing. You know, not to say that I'm not gonna watch major Hollywood productions. I just saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2 last weekend, for fuck's sake. But like, which was fantastic, by the way.
Oh, my kids are dying to see it. I'm like, please don't make me
it's worth it.
Theater and this.
No, it's great.
Worth
it's
it?
fucking worth it.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. The first one was good too.
They liked it.
But but yeah, like I would rather give my money to a completely independent crew for a film that came from nothing. Like we did a movie, we did a called Cinema Showdown of Spaghetti Man versus Inhumanwich. And you wouldn't think, like, okay, these are gonna suck. Spaghetti Man was legitimately fucking hilarious and very well made and acted. Inhumanwich reminded me of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but with
God,
Sloppy Joe. And it was great. And they had a lot of like NASA factoids and stupid shit in there, and it was so funny. Yeah, so I very much love cinema in general. It's hard for me to look at a movie and say, fuck this movie for real.
Yeah.
I need to ask you, just because I love like old movies and I love like old B movie stuff. And I went through a phase where I watched like The Blob, The Thing, you know, so out of that sort of genre back in the day, like what The Blob has always been it's so stupid, like when you watch it, but I love it. Do you have a favorite in that genre, that sort of kind of creepy category, early 1960s, late 50s sort of, I don't want to say horror, but kind of B horror film?
Absolutely. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh my God, so good.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a fantastic film. Donald Sutherland was so good in that. Jeff Goldblum was in it, for fuck's sake. Like, it's one of his earlier roles. And I love the original.
Favorite, Hillary?
I love him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Jeff Goldblum?
I have a bit of a thing for, I don't know why, but I've realized that I have maybe it's a kink, I don't know, for older bald Jewish men. It's like, it's my thing. I don't know what's happening to me, but I'm by the way, I'm not questioning it. I'm just going with it. Let's just go with it. Let's see what happens.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I wanted to say something else, because you guys did a whole month about Nicolas Cage. And when I was in the theater, which was so good, and then I was in the theater and saw a trailer for his new movie. It looks so good. Are you interested in this? It's called, I just looked it up. It's called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And he plays himself, right? Like he's kidnapped or something. Like
what?
He's like an egotistical like asshole, but it's like Nicolas Cage. And it looks so good, and there's so many fantastic people in it. And
I haven't heard about this.
Oh my, you have to watch a trailer. It looks really fun. Like he's mocking himself. It just looks so funny.
My sister-in-law loves him. I got her a book of paper dolls, Nick Cage paper dolls that you could like cut out in color.
I love that. So have you seen the trailer? Are you interested in it?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love Nicolas Cage. Like, I unabashedly love Nicolas Cage. I've been waiting on this movie to come out for almost 2 years, because I remember when it got announced. I remember when he signed on for it. And Pedro Pascal is the guy in question that is co-starring with him, who plays in The Mandalorian as Mando, and will actually be playing Joel in The Last of Us for HBO, based on the video game. So I'm ready for that shit too. But as far as Nick Cage goes, fuck yeah, I am all about that shit, because the concept blows my mind, where this millionaire guy is like, I want to pay you to come to my fucking birthday party, and then when you're over here, you find out I'm not the guy I say I am, and then the fucking CIA gets involved, and they put Nick Cage to work, and you're just like, oh, this is absolutely the most Nick Cage thing.
Oh yeah.
I love it. And you know what's so funny about it? It reminds me of that movie Adaptation, which he was also in. He played Charlie Kaufman, who wrote the screenplay,
Yes.
but like as he's writing the screenplay, like starts to like lose it and writes himself into the screenplay as the writer.
I loved that movie.
Yes,
it kind of reminds me a little of Being John Malkovich too. Like
yes,
I loved that movie.
So fucking amazing. I love shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love the movies. I cannot tell you how much I love going to the movies and the whole fucking experience. And I've taken my kids since they were little. And even if we had to leave halfway through, I'm like, just get used to sitting here because we're going to the movies all the time. I fucking love the movies so much. So much.
Aww.
Yeah, I love it.
Me too. I'd be lost without it. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. It's a good escape. You know, sometimes we need that.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
And you know, it's like, I don't know if you've been to an AMC theater lately, but there's a Nicole Kidman like trailer for AMC where she's in it and she's talking about the power of movies and what it feels like to go there. And we go there to see heroes and it's like just see a reflection of ourselves or whatever it is. It's so true. I feel the same thing about music. I know, Richie, you know, you're a big music guy, but like same thing about music. If you find words of inspiration or lyrics to like touch you and like you can reflect on, I feel the same thing about movies, you know, going back in all of the movies that have like, you know, changed you in some way. It's incredible. I don't know about,
do y'all have a favorite?
Like a sloppy Joe. I don't know how that would coming at attacking me, but maybe. Well, before I say my favorite movie, I will say that I think I love sloppy Joe. Just those words together are so funny to me that I think that if I was ever in a roller derby, which I would love to be in roller derby, I'm a little afraid. I think my name should be Sloppy Joe. Wouldn't that be a funny roller derby name?
It would be cute. I love it.
Sloppy Joe.
Do it.
Okay, my favorite movie of all time is The Royal Tenenbaums. I love that movie.
Great choice.
Yeah, the soundtrack to the acting. I just am obsessed with that movie. I love it.
I am going to be cliche.
Mm-hmm.
I have two. Godfather 2. I love Godfather 2 so much. I love Godfather 2 so much.
Can't even argue with that.
Oh my God, it's just beginning to end. I mean, Frankie Pantangeli is my favorite character when he's there with the hose and he's like, they say canapes, a Ritz cracker with some cheese. Like, oh my God, like, is there anyone else who's more amazing than him in that movie? Yeah. And then my other movie, so I love Godfather 2, but the movie that I watch, and my husband thinks it's so weird, but like if I'm feeling bad or whatever it is, or I just want to watch something that feels like just comfortable and I know it top to bottom and I know every single word, is A Silence of the Lambs. I don't know what it is, but I watched that movie over and over and over and over.
I didn't expect you to say that. I thought you were going to say Goodfellas. I had no idea.
No.
The Lambs is great. Damn, Tina.
So good. I mean, there's some problematic things, you know, I feel like with now with the portrayal of, you know, the killer in that with like his, and that whole piece of him wanting to transition and, you know, but they do make a point to say that not all people who, you know, are transitioning, like do the violence that he does. And like some of the language that they use to speak about that, like, it makes me cringe when I hear it now. We were not in those times yet. We were not. And it's hard to like reflect back on some favorite movies and go, ooh, you know. But I just love that movie. I love Jodie Foster. I love the little accent. There's so many really great moments in that.
That's a good one. Movie. What about you, Richie?
Just in general?
Yeah.
Gosh, there's a few. Like I said, I don't necessarily have like favorite as far as like one singular one because I can watch them all the time. But if I had to pick maybe like a few, they're gonna be like completely apart from each other. One is a film named Akira from Japan, and it is a 1988 anime film. Oh. It's so good. It's based on the manga of the same name, and there's a lot of social commentary, there's a lot of political awareness in it. But it's also extremely entertaining. It's science fiction. Without that film, there would be no Matrix. There would be no Wachowskis doing cinema. Wow. It's one of the most influential pieces and is highly regarded as the greatest anime that has ever existed.
Wow. How do you spell that? How do you spell it?
Akira.
Okay.
That Taxi Driver is another one that I really love.
Oh, I love Taxi Driver.
Good.
I'm a big Scorsese person. I love
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese's films because a lot of people do, like, Casino. I love Casino. I love Goodfellas. But as far as Scorsese's films go, like Taxi Driver, just really, I don't know. There's just something about it, and that something is Robert De Niro just being undeniably like in that character. Like, you can watch movies and you're just like, oh, these guys are, and he's so good in that role that you want, like, you can lose yourself in a film and be like, okay, this actor is giving a really great performance. I like what they're doing. Like you said, I watched Taxi Driver and I watched De Niro and I am uncomfortable. And I think that's why I like it, is because it's almost too real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as far as, cinema like that, love that film. Current cinema, there's a lot that has come out recently. Parasite was really good. I don't know if y'all seen it.
I haven't seen that yet. I've heard.
Tina, you have to watch it. It's fucking insane. It's so fucking good. And the best part about it is, like, who's the bad guy? Like, who are you rooting for? Like, everybody's fucking awful. And you're like, well, I understand this side, but I understand this side. You're like, fuck, it was so fucking good.
It's like a usual suspects, but with a weird twist.
It's just like social, like, talking about social class and like where people stand, and you feel sorry for people, but then you're like, wait, they don't deserve to be treated like this though. And it's just so fucking good.
Oh, maybe I'll watch that tonight. Maybe
it takes a turn. Like, you're watching, you're like, oh, this is a good movie. And all of a sudden it's like, what the fuck's coming out of that basement? You're like, what the fuck's going on? It's like, oh fuck. It is incredible. I fucking love that movie. I love that movie. And the other one that it reminds me of that is Ex Machina, which is another fucking great movie. Bro, fucking love that movie. Have you seen that, Tina?
I haven't seen that.
Tina, we gotta get it. We'll have a show. We'll come over and we'll float and watch these movies together. So
we're floating. Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll be in the pool.
Yeah. Parasite does 100% deserved every fucking award it got.
So
it deserved it so much. And I was just blown away. It's definitely one of those movies that you'll never not talk about decades from now.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I need to watch it.
Yes.
It's been on my list. It's just sometimes I feel like it's hard to, at least I have my two boys where it's just like, go to bed so I can just unwind and watch something, and certain things, I don't want to watch with them. You know what I mean?
Don't watch it with them, but you should watch it for sure.
Faux show. Well, I really appreciate y'all coming and hanging out with me to do this. Like, it's been a long time.
So much fun.
Yeah, it has been. I'm glad we finally got to do it. I'm sorry our schedules like suck. I mean, on our end, I'm sorry we were having so many freaking issues, but I mean, I want to do this again. Like, absolutely want to do this again.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah, like we can brainstorm, another idea or another movie even. I don't care what it is. I'm just all about hanging out with y'all on this bullshit.
Oh, you're so sweet. And I want to thank you because we are on the Odd Pods network together, that media network, and you are one of our Odd Pods fam, and we really appreciate letting us come on this show. It means a lot to us, really.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Like I said, I've been wanting to do it for a while. Oh, you're very, very welcome. I've been wanting to do this for like a long fucking time, and so I want to get a lot of the other shows on too, because like I just haven't had the time to do it, and now, like right now I'm having the time to be able to do it. So I'd love to have literally every show on. So
that's how we're all going to promote each other, right? Like to take us out of that element of our podcast and like, put us in front of your audience. It's awesome. And if you're ever in South Florida, please call us and let's go have a drink, man.
Yes.
Please.
I plan on visiting. Seriously, I plan on visiting. I'm wanting to come see everybody. Like, I'm actually going to be in Ohio at the end of May, so I'll actually be hopefully seeing Sam and Dylan from 500 section from the middle. Yeah. So I do plan on coming to Florida because like there's like a majority of y'all are going to be there. So yeah. I haven't been to Florida since 2007.
Okay.
So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming.
So Lauren's in Jacksonville, so she's North Florida. Yep. I'm a little partial to South Florida, to be honest with you.
Yes, South Florida is the best.
Maybe we all can meet like in the middle.
Yeah.
Like in Orlando-ish area. That would be fun.
Yeah, Tampa. Well, no, that's a little west, but same.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you all a funny story before we get out of here. So the reason I was in Florida in 2007 is because I used to tour in like a band that was from here, and we would just leave on like 2-week treks here and there just to go play around or whatever. So we toured from here to Alabama, and now the areas in Florida we visited were like Tallahassee and Pensacola. But then when we started going further down. Yeah. So when we started going further down, we played in a town right outside of Orlando and Winter Park called Okeechobee.
Oh.
And I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did.
Yes.
But okay, cool. So
God.
the venue that we played at was a combination, I swear to God, was a combination dance hall, bowling alley, pizza place, and bar.
Fun.
If you walked in the place, to the left was the little dance hall area where they used to do roller skating there, but it was just like a little thing they converted into like a stage for the bands. And you walk further down, there's a bar on the right, then you walk all the way to the end and there's a bowling alley. We played with this band that the lead singer was just this big motherfucker with 3-foot tall Liberty spikes. And he thought it would be a good idea to climb the truss system that was holding the lights behind him. And oof, that did not end well. We had so many people in there. It didn't matter. Like we all like were fucking dying laughing. It was a great time. But just the fact that we went, we didn't even think that something like this existed.
Yeah.
Like where there was so much shit in one building. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
our state.
Like we're driving down and there's like ladies in string bikinis and rollerblades riding down the sidewalk, and I'm sitting there like, I've never seen no shit like this. Like people just walking like in like swimwear all the time, and I'm like, it's fucking hot here. I understand now.
Yeah,
like,
but like also, I'm trying to buy tomatoes in the store. Can you put put some clothes on, please?
I mean, I will say I used to live in a bathing suit when I was younger. I would only walk around like shorts and my bathing suit top. Like that was it.
The thing about that little town is that like, that's what little towns in like the Florida is like, because everything's in one place. It's like you got the Dairy Queen and then you got everywhere you can hang out in this one spot. And that's like all that's in the town. You know what I mean? And there are so many small towns in Florida like that I've never heard of. But you drive through and you're like, oh shit, let's get the fuck out of here. Like Deliverance, bitch, like Deliverance.
Yes.
Okay?
That's when you feel like you're in the South. I feel like that when you're in those towns, you really feel like you're still in the South. Because South Florida is, I always forget because we are in the South, but South Florida is not, it's different. It's a different vibe than the rest of the state.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was 2005, not 7. I don't know why I said 7 because I lived in Denver in 2007. So, then that's what reminded me. So we made it to Tampa for our last show. That didn't happen because as soon as we got there, the weather was rolling in and our friend in a band called Imperial was down there. And I swear on everything, we pull up to the venue and we're just waving out the van and he's just like, no, turn around and go. There was a hurricane heading right up Tampa's ass that year.
2005, Wilma. It was probably Wilma.
That's the one because we drove away from that bastard. It was chasing after us. Our fucking trailer was rocking back and forth in the wind when we were driving.
Oh my God. So, I remember that storm though knocked, I remember because I was teaching at the time in West Palm and we didn't have school. I want to say it was like a good 3, almost 4 weeks. Yeah, we did not have school. And I just was riding my bike to the beach every day and waiting for school to come back.
It was insane. It was so fucking crazy. But that's my Florida stories. I want to make more of them. Not like that, but I want to make more stories.
We should totally do like an Odd Pods like family trip, like reunion. I'm here for this. Do you understand?
Odd Pods reunion.
Everybody. I want to hang out with everybody. I want to have fun. Yeah. You know?
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
I got over my fear of flying airplanes when my partner moved down here from Ohio. Like I flew up to I flew up to Ohio and we packed a van full of their stuff and just drove straight here. So I used to be definitely afraid of flying, but not anymore. So I will definitely fly out there. It's even a drive away from me. It's like 8 hours to the Panhandle, but I will fly out there. I don't give a shit.
So are you near New Orleans?
I am closer to Houston than I'm closer to New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
I say that I'm like 3 hours and 15 minutes from New Orleans, 2 hours from Houston. I am
that's not
6.
bad.
Yeah, I'm like 6 hours from Austin, 7 from Dallas. You know, I can get to pretty much.
Yeah,
you know, if I
that's
want to
like
go
nice
to a major
spot,
city,
though. Yeah,
it is a good spot.
it really is. There's nothing really here, but there is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not too disappointed.
Nice, that's good.
Oh yeah, but I'm leaving a lot of this to make for exclusive on the video portion.
Nice.
For sure. That make people come to y'all's fucking
yeah show. Thank you.
Oh yeah. So before we leave here on Super Media Bros, if y'all want to plug y'all stuff one last time, where can people find y'all, all that jazz, social media? Let them have it.
Yeah, you can find us. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on most podcast platforms, and you can follow us on social media at the Muck Podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and then Muck Podcast on Twitter.
And also our website, themuckpodcast.com.
Yes, go to our website, sign up, subscribe.
We will put links in the show notes below, so scroll up and click that shit. Like right now, stop what you're doing and scroll up and click it and go. And just tell me personally to go fuck myself and go listen to these ladies be fucking awesome. I expect that. I expect nothing less from the people that listen to our show to come on our comments and be like, yeah, great show, but fuck you guys.
I love it. I'm here for that.
So, follow us on social media, Facebook, and then still tell me to go fuck myself in the comments below. Come look at our stupid pictures. You know all the jazz. Ladies, Tina, Hillary, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I've had a blast, and I hope you guys did too. Fucking A.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Thank you
so much.
You're very welcome. This has been Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, episode 221. Until next week, I'm Richie. This has been Tina and Hillary from the Muck Podcast. Shades on. We're off. Get the fuck out.